Hi guys, welcome back to Canary Cast. Good to see you back here. As you can see, something a bit different today. Me and Jacob are delighted to welcome Henry Winter, the Times and Sunday Times chief football writer, onto Canary Cast. Henry, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm brilliant. Slightly nervous about tonight, England's big game. But no, thanks for having me on. I have to say, the first game I ever saw as a kid, and I went and checked the facts earlier because I still couldn't remember that there were actually 8 goals, was Norwich 5, Aston Villa 3 in 1975, showing my age here. And Ted McDougall, I think, got a hat-trick. Martin Peters played. I mean, it was just 20. I checked the attendance, actually, because you know what it's like when you're that. I was thinking it was about sort of 10, 12 or something. And the whole place just seemed absolutely rammed. And there were 21,000 in there. Everyone was sort of jumping up and down. So, and I was thinking 8 goals in the first game.
That's not a bad intro.
I've ever seen. And I just thought, wow, doesn't get much better than this. But it could tonight if England.
Yes, it certainly could. There is, of course, only one place to start with the massive game tonight, England-Denmark in the semi-final of Euro 2020. Henry, you've covered plenty of major tournaments. The games don't get much bigger than the one we've got tonight. Is it lost on you after a while, or are you just as excited or nervous as the rest of us?
It's never lost on me. If anything, it just grows more and more. This is the 12th tournament I've covered on England. I was coming back from Rome with Carl Anker from The Athletic. And I was saying to him, I said, is this your first tournament? And he went, yeah, it's really good, isn't it? And I said, listen, mate, it's not always like this. Yeah. This is the Southgate factor. This is because we got a really good generation of characters as well as good generation of players. But I was looking, I'm thinking, how jammy are you? I was thinking, the stuff I've been through, metatarsals, players' strikes, riots. I mean, riots after riots. I mean, I can remember one game I was writing, I had tear gas in my eyes. I could hardly see the screen. Missed penalties again and again. And it was, so I was just thinking, brilliant, enjoy this. But it's not always like this. So maybe because I've, obviously you're a detached journalist, but because you want England to do well and because they're a good group of players, there's been a lot of suffering to get here.
Do you think, Henry, is because the fans are back now? Does it feel like more emotive, like especially after a year of everyone? It feels like in the football games now, especially the England ones, it feels like fans are almost making up for lost time, and the passion is like anything I've never seen really.
I think they're making up for lost time because they've missed football. I think fans are making up for lost time because you've lost your liberty over the last 14, 15 months. I mean, I'm thinking, so my kids' generation, without getting too sort of political, they're probably least at risk from the virus, but have actually had most of their sort of liberty and their sort of like first year at university or going to college or first year at a job or leaving school, their exams messed about. So I think that's, when you see all the scenes in box parks, and I'm sure all over Norwich, there'll be parties tonight in pubs and wherever. And that sort of generation, the sort of 16, 17, 18 to 24, 25, I think it's fantastic seeing them let rip because of England and because of what they've been through. I think it's great. But yeah, 60,000 at Wembley tonight, 5,000 of them Danes, and the atmosphere, as you could tell from the Italy game last night, was great, and it will be even more. The roar when the players come out for the warm-up, let alone for the kickoff, is just going to be crazy.
Absolutely spot on. What have you made of Gareth Southgate and his team so far, Henry? It's one of the better England teams that I've seen in my lifetime, anyway.
They're humble. There's no arrogance about them. I think the arrogance with England probably disappeared from after the 2006 World Cup in Germany, where Steven Gerrard came up with this line that we went around Germany trumpeting how good we are and came home mute with embarrassment. And then obviously the sort of the Steve McClaren failure to qualify for 2008. And I think there was a bit of hubris. I think a little bit of perspective came in. I think on the media side, we probably tempered our expectations a bit. But I just think that this team reflects Southgate's character. I mean, there's a resilience to them in terms of you look at the journeys they've been on, and I mean, journeys is an overused word in football, but the sort of the experiences that they've had in their life, going out on loan, going out on, the difficulties that they've had. I mean, Tyrone Mings was sleeping in a homeless shelter for a while. Raheem Sterling, at some point when he was at QPR as a kid, didn't know where he was going to be sleeping that night, and he had to wait for a text from his sister to say, the family is living in this council accommodation. A lot of them have been through so much, so there is a resilience to them, which is reflected in the manager. When you remember what Gareth Southgate through, missing that penalty and all the sort of the abuse he got, and carrying that with him. So I think there's an honesty there. One of the England fans who said something very interesting to me. He said, "Do you know what? I don't know the names of any of the wags." And I think that was maybe because they're so young, maybe they haven't sort of settled down yet, whatever. But 2006 was just this sort of almost this circus with the wags and distractions, partly because of the media. But they aren't. You look at the footballers and you see them with their families, and without being patronising, I think they're quite wholesome gathering. There have been occasional lockdown breaches which have been slightly inelegant, but actually they're good characters. So look, you've got some fantastic players in there. You look at the pace of Sterling, the intelligence of Sterling, his movement, that pass to Kane the other day. You look at the pace of Saka and Sancho and their skills as well. You look at the resilience of the defence. I mean, Jordan Pickford, I think he's guaranteed the clean sheet trophy. I mean, it's remarkable how good the defence. I thought the defence would be the Achilles heel, but they've been fantastic. So they're strong in all positions. And I've interviewed Calvin Phillips, and he's just desire to deliver for his family, for his country, for Granny Val, his grandmother who sadly passed away. For all the Leeds fans and the club that he came from, Workley FC, their pride in him posting pictures, and so I think it's fantastic. But also they're a reminder, and I always do this with tournaments. I go through the sort of backgrounds of the England players and see how many EFL clubs they've played in. And obviously you had some of them, and it's a reminder of the importance of the pyramid, which is particularly poignant after the sort of Super League debacle. So they're a good bunch.
They look like they actually want to be there as well. Obviously, like you say, under 2006, it felt like the pressure. I remember Frank Lampard speaking many a time on the likes of BT, saying they're almost in different groups, because obviously the Chelsea, United kind of different groups there. But these, you've got the likes of Declan Rice, Mason Mount, who obviously best mates. Southgate seems to have made kind of that scenario where everyone wants to be there and wants to kind of go forward. You look at Kane, for example, the ambition and drive that he has to win this Euros. I don't think we've seen that for a very long time.
No, it's a very good point. I mean, they are sort of like a band of brothers, a family. I think it's helped that the FA has increased the number of age group games. So you've got under 17, under 18, under 19, under 20, under 21s. So they have this connection with England, but also this connection with each other. So you talk to the players. Obviously, you mentioned Mason Mount, Declan Rice. They go back to their Chelsea days. But sort of growing up, and they've been winners. Phil Foden was a world champion. They've done good things at age group level. They've got used to excellence, the pursuit of excellence. They know what it takes, and they are all close together. There are no club cliques in there. You look at the relationship between Maguire and Stones, Manchester United and Manchester City, fierce rivals. They're friends off the pitch as well as great sort of central defensive partners on the pitch. So, as you say, they're no cliques, which there were in 2006.
Tonight's opponents, Henry, Denmark. What have you made of them? I don't think we're looking at another Ukraine game here. I'm expecting it to be a bit more difficult than that.
I mean, they're tough and they're talented. You look at the spine through the team. You look at Kasper Schmeichel and the saves that he's made this season. His leadership, Simon Kjær, talking of captains and leaders, the way that he responded as a leader and as a friend and a teammate when Christian Eriksen had his horrific cardiac arrest on the pitch, and that the emotion of that, doing it, always beware a team with a cause. Like Italy, going back to 2006, Italy in 2006, obviously a completely different cause. But with Calciopoli, all the sort of refereeing fixing and the cloud over Italian football, that was that kind of era, that generation were a very proud generation and wanted to put Italian football in a better light around the world. And that drove them on. And there's an element of that, completely different experiences with what's happened to Christian Eriksen and their desire to deliver for him and that riding the wave of emotion. But they're also, they're more than that. They've got some terrific players, Dolga, Damsgaard, players like that. I mean, Højbjerg are going to be absolutely up for this. I mean, they will be up for it. So it'll be a tough night. You're right.
I mean, You mentioned Højbjerg there. He's created as many chances as Kevin De Bruyne at this tournament. They're big, strapping lads. I mean, they're going to be a threat from set pieces even. What are the sort of key matchups? How do you see this? Where do you think the game will be won and lost tonight, Henry?
I just think if England, I assume they'll play with a back three. I'm assuming England will go sort of 4-3-3, which has become. I know he switched it. Southgate switched it for Germany to match up against their wing backs and the threat they had out wide in Kimmich and Goossens. But I think he'll go with a back four. I mean, Walker's pace can get him out of trouble if he's positional play, although that has improved. It's going to be tiny details in a game like this. It often is with semi-finals. I think Pickford pulling off a worldie save. I think he's going to be important player tonight. I come back to Sterling though. I just think if Sterling is on his game as he has been in this tournament, I think he's been England's, well, along with Phillips and maybe one or two others. I think Sterling, when he gets the ball, that left-sided combination seems to work with Luke Shaw as well. I think he creates space as well as chances for Harry Kane. So I think if Raheem Sterling is maybe running at Vestergaard, I think that's maybe a good avenue of hope for England.
Yeah, that sounds a likely avenue for success. Jacob, how are you feeling about the game, mate?
Nervous, but a good nervous. I think for any generation should be looking at this. And Gareth Southgate said it the other day: 3 semi-finals in 3 years is unheard of. Like, that's success, and it's just making that final step now. It'd be brilliant to see it really get to that final, and just that culmination of a full Wembley with England in the final would just be, I think, for the last 15 months would just kind of almost wipe it all away. Like, this would be the big point, and it would be brilliant to see. It's going to be nerve-wracking, isn't it? It's going to be close, but I'm really looking forward to it, mate.
Henry, do you think there's an argument to say that if we can get it done in 90 minutes this evening, that gives us a huge advantage for the final?
Well, Italy have got an extra day. I mean, my long, painful history with England is I tend not to look further than the next corner. I mean, anything can happen. If they can do it tonight in normal time, in extra time, I mean, my gut feeling is that it will be decided possibly in extra time by one of their substitutes, maybe a Grealish coming off the bench and producing some magic. But I think even if it goes to penalties, and I know Schmeichel can be very good at stopping penalties. It's just a ridiculous thing to say as an England journalist, but I do actually think England got a chance if it goes to penalties. Because I think Pickford will save one, and I think it also will nail one as well. I can just see him; he's just got that character to take it. And Rashford may come off the bench and he can take one. Kane, if he's still on, can take one. Trippier will take one. There's some strong characters in there who will be up for taking penalties.
Yeah, monumental game this evening. We should see what happens. I'm eager not to jinx it because we obviously haven't kicked a ball against Denmark yet. But we saw the other semi-final last night, Italy beating Spain on penalties, of course. As a potential opponent in the final, Henry, what have you made of Italy? You've spoken about them a bit already, but it's going to be a tough match if we do get there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think whether it's Denmark or England who go through, Italy will probably be the favourites. Yeah. Partly because of their defence. I mean, you look at Chiellini. I mean, he's the only player I've seen by the side of a pitch go head-to-head with Stuart Pearce, who was England's under-21 coach at the time. And we were sort of giggling in the press box going, listen, mate, you might be tough.
Don't do that.
You seriously, don't mess with Psycho. It was, I think, a ball that sort of bounced out of play and Stuart was taking, he was just trying to slow the game down or whatever. So, look, Chiellini is hard as nail. I thought Bonucci had a fantastic game last night as well. And you just look at those Italians. And then Donnarumma. I mean, people probably wasn't in the conversation for one of the world's top 5 goalkeepers before the tournament. I think he's been fantastic. So calm in the penalty shootout as well. So I just think that defence, and then you look at some of the players they've got going forward as well. It'll be that will be tough. It might be decided on set pieces. It could be one of those finals. But England have got to get through tonight first.
They certainly have. Last question on England. Is football coming home, Henry? Are we going to win the thing? And also, what do you think is going to happen tonight?
Is football coming home to Carrow Road? The one thing I guarantee that regardless of tonight, that there'll be a buzz going into next season, and there'll obviously be an amazing buzz. Throughout the Premier League, obviously having Norwich City back up, but if England do, it was interesting talking to some of the players when they came back from Russia. They found it quite emotional that they would go to a rival's ground and be applauded for what they'd done for the country in Russia. So I think it was, it's quite. There'll be definitely be a happy, not a hangover, but there'll be definitely a nice legacy from this tournament going into it, and it could be a golden legacy. But we've got to get past Denmark first.
Certainly have. Jacob, just to finish on, how do you see it playing out, mate?
Yeah, let's just hope. I'd love to get through tonight, and finally, an amazing achievement. Yeah, let's just say is, you know what? After a culmination, whilst you could say Italy are probably by far the best team in this tournament this year, if you're going to do it, you got to beat the best. So yeah, why not? Let's say so.
Yeah. I think if we can get it done in 90 minutes, it's coming home, personally. Right, let's park England there for now. Let's see what happens tonight. And let's talk Norwich.